Hey, what's going on, guys? This is going to be a more semi-scripted. I got like notes here, sort of unedited video, I guess you could say. We're going to be talking about this whole situation with Pokemon Unite and all the dislikes it got and sort of the further divide of the community and all that not so fun stuff, I guess you could say. Originally, I was planning on doing a Monster Tamer showcase for Nexomon, but I decided to switch things around a little bit because of what's going on. That video will be coming out on Sunday because I have two other videos slated for tomorrow and the next day going over Serial Ultimate crossovers and Kindred Fate. So expect Nexomon showcase Sunday. But anyway, I did want to talk about what's going on with the whole Pokemon Unite thing, and I'm already seeing straw men being propped up from every single angle about the whole arguments from both sides, and it gets ridiculous. So I want to get my opinion out before everything hits the fan. Now, I do think it's important to emphasize my stance on this, and honestly, I'm pretty apathetic to the whole situation. Like, yeah, I don't really care about Pokemon Unite. It's personally not my type of game, but I'm not angry that it exists. It's just whatever. I don't think I don't personally think that most people who dislike the video are. Obviously, I can't prove that, but the sentiment that I've been seeing around and in general is that people are more upset of how it was announced rather than what was announced. But we'll get into that. I sort of wanted to give some background information of how this situation kind of came together and sort of exploded on this video. So we're gonna go back in time a little bit. So I think for me and many others, this whole situation that we're in right now with this fractured community can be traced back all the way to Pokemon Let's Go. And I don't know if you guys remember, and I don't have the tweet with me, but there was that tweet that stated that Let's Go are basically side games, and the next games will be for the core audience, or it's a core game or whatever, for the longtime fans, and all that, whatever the stupid sentiment was. It came as to no one, it literally came to no one's surprise when Swish was revealed to be lacking all these basic features. Like, we already knew the Dex wasn't coming, but it was a pretty empty game. Like, I think anybody that's played games from Gens 1 to 8, you'll know 8's pretty empty. Like, I'd argue it's emptier than X and Y, personally, but take with that what you will. But, it was missing the GTS. It was missing, obviously, the National Dex. It was missing, at least X and Y had that PSS system that was pretty cool. I mean, it just felt like it was missing a lot. It felt like a high-res 3DS game that was priced as a full console game. That's the sentiment I always hear. Now, a lot of the criticism with regards to the models and graphics and whatnot were all attributed to the fact that features like Mega Evolution, Pokemon themselves, they were cut seemingly for no reason. The reasons stated were all debunked. So it sort of caused a resentment, I guess you could say, towards Game Freak. But this video is not meant to be critical of Sword and Shield or anything like that. I'm trying to give sort of a backstory to why people are feeling the way they are. Like, this was the sentiment at the time. Some people were defending the game, some people were attacking the game. It caused a lot of frustration. A lot of people were upset. Like I said, it caused a fracture with both sides having, I guess you could almost say, like, levels of militance in their views. There was obviously people willing to have like an honest discussion, but then there was always, the loudest people on both sides who were muddying the waters. People saying like, you're not a true Pokemon fan, and other people saying like, you're a shill, blah, 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 whatever. Like, it's one thing to throw little insults around, like, but it's another thing to make that your whole argument. And that was happening at the extremes, but as usual, that muddied the water for everyone else. It's nothing new. It happens whenever something controversial is brought up, whether it be politics, gaming, whatever. Anyways, this sort of frustration from the one side of the community, as well as the sort of casualization of Pokemon since Gen 6, and yes, I know Pokemon was never a hardcore game, but you can't say in good faith that Gen 6, 7, and 8 have no more hand-holding than the previous gens. You can't say that in good faith. Like, if we literally have to play all the games and count, like just don't even try it. Come on. But anyway, the new games tend to have a lot of patronizing dialogue and like I said, hand-holding to the extent of just like, it's insane. Now, yes, the games prior were targeted towards kids, but they were always just as fulfilling as an adult when you weren't constantly being treated as a child throughout your playthrough, whereas now it feels a little different. Anyways, then, we had the announcement of Pokemon Home, and that caused a controversy because it was a paid service on top of Pokemon Bank that was required to transfer your Pokemon, and then there was even more controversy surrounding the DLC that came that said, hey, we're bringing back some of the Pokemon. So that caused even more controversy because people were saying, hey, well, you said you couldn't bring them back, and all of a sudden a couple months later you're able to bring them back. What's going on? Then the Isle of Armor came, and as part of one of 2 pieces of DLC, and then people are saying it's too short. Now, the Crown Tundra could very well fix this. Maybe the first DLC was only worth about $10 and the Crown Tundra was worth 20. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be half and half, but we've seen from the leaks Crown Tundra seems a lot larger. But anyways, there could be a whole debate about whether or not the Isle of Armor should have just been a post-game area, considering the game's a Switch game. It should be bigger than a 3DS game. But again, not why we're here. But anyway, last week's announcement brought forth several titles such as Pokemon Smile, Pokemon Cafe, Pokemon Snap 2, which was pretty cool, etc. It was a mixed bag. People were happy with Pokemon Snap, and I guess some were probably happy about Mega Evolution and Pokemon Go. But yeah. But anyways, at the end, they told us that they got big news next week and to come see at the same time. And this caused a lot of hype. And, you know, what exactly is this big news alluding to? What's going on? Like, a lot of people were throwing around speculation and stuff. And I think the disappointment of Pokemon Unite for many people is actually a mixed bag as well, because on one end, many were saying, like, you know, it's just a stupid phone game. They could have included it in the first announcement, whatever. But on the other end, I think people did have their hopes up a little too high. So I wanted to sort of get into that as well. So I've had tons of people, sort of display their sentiments about, oh, I hope this is a Gen 4 remake or a new mainline title, etc. And while I guess it's technically possible for them to announce something like that right now, I kept telling people it's highly, highly, highly unlikely. It's bad. It's bad business to do that, because if you were to reveal a new mainline title before Crown Tundra dropped, it could potentially lose sales for both the DLC and copies of Swish. Believe it or not, yes, some people are holding out. They're still holding out, waiting to see if Swish can recover from its heavy criticism and sort of its downfalls. Like the last DLC, to many, might be what fixes the game for them and causes them to buy it. If they did announce Gen 4 remakes, a lot of people would just wait. Why spend $90 on Swish when you can wait for the next game, which will probably have the whole national dex, because Swish after DLC is going to have over 600 Pokemon, then the new one will probably bring the last 300 in. You can spend $60 on that, and if it is a remake, then you know you're probably going to like the game, like, because it's based on something you like, so there's more of a chance that you'll like it anyway. So there is a certain sect of the community that might have been salty just about not getting what they want, but this is inevitable with anything. The problem is, I'm already seeing people on Twitter and Reddit trying to label this as the whole thing. Everyone's just whining because they didn't get what they wanted, blah, blah, blah. This couldn't be further from the truth. So let's step back a bit. When you take into consideration all the pent-up frustration over the casualization of the games, to Swish being underwhelming to many, to the Pokemon Company's recent shift to primarily focusing on mobile and trying to rekindle what happened with Pokemon Go, which a lot of people hate mobile games already because a lot of them are pay to win or pay to skip. But basically, the older audience of Pokemon who grew up with it have been frustrated for years. X and Y felt incomplete. ORAS was missing the battle frontier because Masuda stated that delayed gratification was basically a thing in the past, and it's all about like instant gratification now. And then Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were basically carbon copies with minuscule difference to their previous games, even more so than Pokemon Emerald or Platinum. So people were already upset. This was just the straw that broke the camel's back. Then they tell us that, hey, we have something coming, and it's going to be, it's such a big thing. And then to a lot of people, it's just another cash grab to capitalize on that current uptrend of mobile MOBA games. Well, whether you agree with that or not, that's what the sentiment is. And like I said, I don't think a lot of people really care that it exists, but they feel like Pokemon is disconnected. There's an entire subreddit dedicated to what Pokemon should be. And there are fan games and ROM hacks and this and that seem to do Pokemon better in a lot of cases, because as a fan, they know what people want. Even indie games, like, you see a lot of indie games now making Pokemon-like games, or games that sort of take the Pokemon formula and turn it on its head and do something innovative and whatnot. And these people are listening to the fans. It just, to a lot of people, it just seems that Game Freak, Nintendo, and most importantly, the Pokemon Company just don't care. People feel like they were clickbaited into this direct. Whether or not they had high expectations is kind of besides the point. A lot of people expected at least something like something that was so big that it couldn't be revealed with the other stuff, but that's not what we got. I guess at the end of the day, a lot of adult fans feel like they didn't grow out of Pokemon, but Pokemon grew out of them. Anyways, guys, I hope you sort of see where people are coming from, and please don't let the extremes of both ends muddy healthy discussion. I'm sorry that I rearranged the schedule to fit this in, but I wanted to get my opinion out before this turns into just a big frenzy where anyone who disagrees with you is not a true Pokemon fan or whatever nonsense comes up around this time. This week's been pretty Pokemon heavy due to the DLC and whatnot, but tomorrow we got a video going over, like I said, Cerulean Ultimate's crossovers with Monster Crown, Coromon, and Monster Sanctuary, and the potential, and we know this is happening, but for Cerulean stuff to come into the other 3 games. I have statements from the devs, all 3 of them, so I'd like you guys to check that out. I'm actually really excited to get this video out. So I talked to the Monster Sanctuary devs, the Coromon devs, and the Monster Crown devs, so to see what might come into their games. But anyway, we'll get to that tomorrow, I guess. But yeah, so Nexomon's coming on Sunday, and a Kindred Fates video about guilds is coming on Saturday. So thanks as always for watching, and for more Monster Tamer content, make sure to subscribe. And until next time, peace.